Hi everyone, how are you today? I hope that you're in a good condition right now. In this video, we will discuss about curriculum theories in practice. This presentation will be presented by Kak Iton, Kak Clara, Diani, and also Kak Edo. There will be five theories we will talk about. There is Apple, Eisner, Stenhouse, Dewey, and also Bernstein. Curriculum is not neutral, but a powerful site where societal values, power relations, and opportunities for social change are negotiated. The first theory will present by Kak Edo. There is Apple's theory. So, Kak Edo, times is yours.
Okay, thank you. We're going to start from the first series that is Michael's Apple. He proposed critical theories through his book Ideology and Curriculum in 1979, which illustrates the relationship between school and society, underlining about Marxist theories. Let's try to take a look. We're moving on with the core of the theory. In early 1970s, Apple first introduced Marxist view as the foundations of the theory, which view education as a superstructure to maintain the system and underline the power and influence of economic classes. As an ideological tool in power, use it as a tool to inexplicitly add ideology to be normalized in the curriculum itself, aka hidden curriculum. So there's hidden agenda over there. Other influence he obtained was from sociology's viewpoint, from Goldner, which he could agree that curriculum is not a value free either, same as social one. Within the curriculum, we can find the purpose, the knowledge, and skill that are selected on purpose by powerful people that deemed as official knowledge, which is basically their own version of truth. And later on, in the late 1970s, he shifted the directions from Marxist at first to Gramsci's hegemony, basically how power is maintained in the society. Here, in the concept of knowledge. The concept is in order to develop nuanced analysis between school and society and explain the curriculum reproduce social inequality. We're going to move on. The critical theories is in alignment with the critical and postmodern view. Here, as it directly critiques the official knowledge taught in the school as a form of social control and emphasize on critical inquiry and political awareness about the class relation and economic inequality in Indonesia, in which we can also see it is in the implementation in Indonesian curriculum Merdeka. Here, especially in Profil Prajal Pancasila, aims to develop students with a strong sense of social responsibility. It also promotes to uncover truth in digital spaces, especially using critical literacy. We're going to move on with the next series.
Okay, this is a part of Basil Bernstein. So he is a sociologist of educations. So basically, the code theory just like social power relations. This is how education set by social power relations, and curriculums regulates what counts as valuable knowledge in society. So this is just like some points that Bernstein's code theory. The first is restricted and elaborated codes, just like types of students classification in education. So the first is working class communication. This is like how low class students have something like that. And the second part is elaborated codes, middle class communications. This is just like the uh, class in the high levels of economic with the family, something like that. And the second part is classification and framing. This is a part of how the education system develop, create, or enhance the social inequality in capitalist society. So the first is classification. This is just like how subject or knowledge are separated. And the second part is framing about how tight the teachers control over learning, something like that. And the second part The last one is discourse, just like types of knowledge that they use. The first is horizontal. This is just like habits, educations or knowledge, just like everyday or local practical knowledge, just like how to cook rice with a rice cooker. And the second part is vertical, just like systematic abstract. This is just like powerful knowledge in the classroom, like math and biology. And this is the last one, social reproductions and equity. So basically, the curriculum is neighbor neutral because the politic, economic, culture always affect the education middle class, always elaborated, always get the advantages, something like that. And yeah, we move to alignment in framework. So that I mentioned before, critical curriculum theory. Three keywords that you have to remember, just like power, social class, and cultural reproduction. So basically the theory just like relates with the culture and social class. Just remember that part and then you can read this part also. And in the Indonesia, we can see zoning and differentiations of material. The first is zoning system, example of social reproductions. So students from middle class easier access to quality schools, and students from lower class limited facilities. And the effect is reproduces inequality. So it means education is not neutral. And the second is differentiations of materials. Example of classification and framing. So strong classification, just like subject separated, science, um, so this is just like super elaborated codes with widens inequality. And the week of classification, integrated curriculum, Merdeka Belajar projects, more accessible for disadvantaged students. Yeah, so let us move to another theory.
Hello, so it's my turn now. I hope that you're still with us. So let's see, what do we have here right now? Aha, we have John Dewey. Give me a minute. How are you doing anyway? You good? Hope so. So, John Dewey, he's a psychologist who influenced the curriculum theory with his philosophy of experimentalism, which centered on human experiences as the primary method for personal knowledge growth. And there are some curriculum theory core ideas that I would like to share. The first one is experiential learning and continuous reconstruction. Dewey argued that learning is an ongoing process shaped by experience and it's always developing, and it's never fully complete. He suggested that teaching should be built upon students' existing knowledge and abilities, using them as the foundation for the future growth. And then the second one, the psychological principle and active learning. Dewey criticized traditional education for viewing children as passive receivers of information. In contrast, he emphasized the psychological principle, which is the child's mind inherently active and motivated to explore. Because of this, he argued that genuine learning must center on hands-on activity rather than memorization. The third one is democratic values and social purpose. What is it about? Dewey placed strong emphasis on democracy in education, arguing that classrooms should model democratic principles to prepare students for active participation in society. He believed that education must connect with learners' goals and goals. And then the fourth one, holistic or whole child education. It means that education should nurture the whole child, extending beyond intellectual growth itself. This perspective highlights the importance of elements like health, safety, emotional support, active participation, and meaningful challenges. And last but not least, is knowledge as intersubjective creation and continuous inquiry. Give me a minute. Here you go. It highlighted the individual as an active producer of knowledge and morality, not just a passive recipient. If we talk about it, about the implementation in Indonesia, it has something to do with P5, P5 that we know in Indonesian. What is it about? That will be a part of things that we will discuss later on. And then, wait a minute. For the alignment in framework, there are some parts that we have learned before. And oh, sorry, there's a typo here. It should be, there are three types of theory. And about Dewey, the closest theory that is related with with Dewey is post-truth curriculum theory. Why it is so? There are 2 reasons. The first one is combating post-truth through critical inquiry and intersubjective knowledge. And then the second one, it is adapting to digital transformation with experimental and reflective learning. Last but not least, it is fostering responsible digital citizenship through democratic values. And then the theory of Jewish in Indonesia. It, even though his name isn't always mentioned, many policies and practices carry his spirit. The first one is Merdeka Curriculum, and then the second one is project-based and collaborative learning. And last but not least, the challenges in Indonesia. The classrooms often still focus heavily on standardized tests, memorization, and grades, and that is exactly what we criticized. For the next part, we will have Clara.
Okay, now we will talk about Lawrence Stenhouse curriculum theory, which is about process curriculum and teacher as researcher. There are some key ideas from his curriculum theory. The first one is about teacher and student emancipation and autonomy. Stenhouse wanted teachers and students to think critically and make their own judgments. He believes students should learn to question rather than just accept what they are told. And then the second one, curriculum as a development and as a process of social and political action. This means he saw curriculum not as a set of instructions, but as a way to empower teachers and improve practice through experimentation and also reflection. The third one, curriculum as a rejection of the objectives model in curriculum. His theory, in Stenhouse theory, he opposed the idea of rigidly stating learning outcomes in advance. He argued this limits inquiry and reduces teaching to only following a script. And then the fourth one, curriculum as a framework for inquiry and experimentation. Instead of fixed objectives, he proposed that curriculum should be a framework for investigation. Each classroom could act like a laboratory where teachers and students test ideas. And then the next one, the teacher's role as neutral chairperson. On these controversial topics, teachers should not impose their own views. Instead, Instead, they should guide discussion fairly, helping students form their own judgment. And then the next one, the teacher as researcher. Stenhouse believed teachers should not just use research, but also do the research. By investigating their own classroom, teachers can improve their practice and question theories. And then the next one, the importance of case studies research. He stressed the importance of case studies, which give real examples of classroom life. This connects theory to practice and keep the voices of teachers and students alive. And then the last one, teaching as an art. For Stenhouse, teaching was like an art that improves with practice and reflection. Knowledge in education is proven through what happens in real classroom. Stenhouse theory stands between critical and postmodern curriculum because Stenhouse did not explicitly frame curriculum in terms of ideology or emancipation, and he viewed curriculum as not a package of content, but a hypothesis to be tested in practice. Stenhouse vision, in line with Curriculum Merdeka in terms of curriculum as a flexible process, teacher as a researcher, and curriculum as hypothesis. Because Stenhouse put a bold underline for teacher professional development, Curriculum Merdeka has this program called Guru Penggerak and MGMP to develop the teachers. From this, we can conclude that Lawrence Stenhouse believed that education should free both teachers and students from blind dependence on authority. For him, knowledge was not something to be imposed, but something to be questioned, explored, and also tested. That's about Lawrence curriculum theory. Now we will move to the next one with Indah.
Okay, the next theory is Eisner theorist. Yeah. Elliot W. Eisner was an American curriculum theorist and professor of art and education at Stanford University. He is best known for his ideas on arts-based education, the now curriculum. The core ideas, the first one is the now curriculum. What school do not teach may be as important as what they do. So it means that beside the material that have been taught, the material that are ignored in the curriculum also shapes students' learning experience and future. The next one, the second one is two major dimension, intellectual process and content or subject areas. So in this major dimension, the emphasized subject is like mathematics, Indonesian, and then science, but the ignored content or subject is like anthropology, art, history, philosophy, environmental issues, ethics, or local history. And the second one is the intellectual process. The emphasized thinking process or skill is like memorization of facts, standard exercise, and then basic analysis. But the ignore thinking process or skills is critical thinking, creativity, moral reflection, and the ability to solve complex problems. If school do not teach creativity, ethical reflection, or cultural issues, students may lack of critical thinking, creativity, or sensitivity to social context. Then the cause of now curriculum, we teach what we have always taught. So the traditional teaching habits, like we teach what we have always taught, and the standardization and narrow focus on measurable outcomes, artificial separation of cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains, and second-class treatment of non-core object. And the last one is the consequence for students, uh, limits intellectual curiosity and exploration, reduce interdisciplinary understanding, limit development of critical, creative, and reflective capacities, shapes life choice and societal engagement, and fails to prepare students for 21st century real-world challenges. When people say the 21st century real-world challenges, it means that they usually mean the complex problems society face today and in the near future that go beyond textbook knowledge. These are the issues that require critical thinking, collaboration, creativity, and ethical awareness. So it's not just memorization, but we should use the creativity also. Okay. The next part is the alignment in framework. The goal of education in Eisner theories use postmodern because Eisner rejected the narrow goals of education that is only cognitive or academic. He emphasized creativity, arts, experience, and disciplinary. This align with postmodern thinking. Second one is the role of the curriculum in this theory is critical and Eisner showed that what is not taught the now curriculum reflects that political and ideological decisions, not neutrality. This connect with critical theory, which sees the curriculum as a side of power and values. The role of the teacher is postmodern because Eisner support teacher as reflective and creative rather than just deliver the knowledge. The teacher's role is more like a facilitator who opens space for what the official curriculum leaves out. So, and the implementation in Indonesia, Curriculum Merdeka in Eisner theory, Indonesia, the Merdeka curriculum has started giving more space for P5, Project Penguatan Profil Pelajar Pancasila, which incorporate local culture, batik, music, or folklore. Teachers are encouraged more freedom to adapt content for students, for example, linking lesson to local culture, environment, and community issues. In Indonesia, critical thinking is often reduced to exam preparation. Applying the Eisner theory would mean giving space for open discussion, creative problem solving, and disciplinary that actually let students practice critical thought. Indonesia's move to curriculum merdeka is a chance to reduce this pressure, but teachers still need support and autonomy to bring Eisner ideas alive. So the conclusion.
So, in reflecting on the ideas of Apple, Bernstein, Dewey, Stenhouse, and Einer, we see that despite their different perspectives, they cover on one crucial insight. Curriculum is never neutral. It is a contested area shaped by power and ideology, yet it also holds the potential to support human autonomy and freedom. This is where the role of educators become vital. Teachers are not simply the giver of knowledge, but they are also the shapers of experiences. The decision they make deeply influence how students come to understand themselves, their communities, and the wider world. So, the challenge for us is clear. We must engage critically with every curriculum decision, moving beyond the question of what should be taught to the deeper question of why do we teach this? Let us commit to choices that advance equity, social justice, critical thinking, and above all, the development of autonomous individuals. Learners who are not only able to interpret their world, but also empowered to change it. And next, the last but not least, will be presented by Diani.
So this is the slide of the group discussion. So we have three big questions or topic that you guys have to discuss with your friends. Yeah. So please be careful with that, and then please enjoy the discussions. And then you can screenshot about it and then yeah, discuss. So this all from our presentations. Thank you for your attentions, and I want to say sorry if there is just like mistake pronunciations, grammar, or anything else about the informations. Yeah. So thank you and bye bye.